Hello, everybody. Thought I was going to have to hit a button to make that disappear, and then it disappeared, and I was kind of shocked. Thanks for coming to hang out tonight. So, if you didn't see, I'm sure you saw the thumbnail. So, we're going to be talking about the whole ThedaCare debacle. I know it's largely resolved by now, but I have a lot of things about it that I just need to react to. And I had like, I don't know what it was. I'm guessing maybe metapneumovirus or something, but I had a plague, so I couldn't talk about it then, and it still has a lot of applicable things. So we're going to talk about the whole situation and then have a conversation about how you should and shouldn't employ people or like act when you're employing people, give some insight on things so that you never have to deal with that and get taken advantage of, and just in general be a little bit snarky and sassy about the whole thing because it's a little bit ridiculous. If you're watching this on replay, I will have timestamps down below so that you can skip around if we start getting kind of chatty. And then any comments, questions, anything you guys want to have, let's just discuss. So, hi, everybody who is here. Oh, we have people from Philadelphia. Yes. Bittersweet. What is your name? I always need to know because I feel like I know you because we talk so much, but then I don't actually know your name. So, what's your name? We have people from Texas. Oh, you're a travel nurse. I hope you are making bank at the moment, my friend. Alberta, Canada. How exciting. I wonder if it's colder there or colder here. It was -4 this morning when I took my dog out for a walk, and I was like, the snow felt like dry ice. Virginia, Wisconsin. Ooh, you're going to need to help me, Megan, say these words. I feel like living in Michigan was sort of helpful, but a lot of the words I was reading, and I was like, yeah, this has some very odd I know you have some excitingly pronounced names. Joe has family that lives in Wisconsin around Milwaukee, but he was no help. It does not appear to be a genetic thing that you are able to speak Wisconsin. Scranton, oh, another Pennsylvania person. We have Arizona. I think this is Kansas. I hope it's Kansas. Oh, I am from PA. I'm an NA at a local hospital and just recently tested. Oh, Lydia, I hope you feel better. Oh man, Josh, thanks for being here, even though you are tired. Lots of Texas. Oh my goodness. Oh, it was -8 in Canada this morning. That is cold. Sashira, I hope I pronounced your name right, was just watching a documentary on nurses being abused by patients and exploited in a hospital. I have a video like that where I've ranted about that. And yes, what documentary was it? I'm curious. I can watch it when I need to like get my blood pressure up and going. Oh, Megan's going to do her best to help pronounce the Wisconsin lingo. They just have, if you've never seen Wisconsin names, they are absolutely wild. And Tony says, yes, it was Kansas, which is excellent. My geography knowledge is very poor. So I'm about to sign up for my first semester prereqs for a BSN. That's very exciting. You're going to be fine. You can do hard things. Just remember that. All right. Shall we dive into this disaster? So we shall call it. First, because I'm learning to be organized, we're going to have a table of contents. So this is what we are going to watch and learn today. So these will be the timestamps if you want to catch them down in the description. First, we're going to go over the situation. Let me know in the chat if you already know about the situation or if this is new to you. I bet most of you probably already have a general understanding. We'll go over who is involved in it, what is ThedaCare claiming. ThedaCare is a large healthcare organization in Wisconsin. What's an injunction? Because that word was thrown around and I was like, everyone was like, oh, there's an injunction. And I was like, grr. I don't know what that means. So we'll learn about that, what the outcome was, and then what to do, what you do when you do not owe your job, because this gets mixed up all the time in healthcare and it shouldn't be, because it's, there's a lot of emotional manipulation, which I was going to try to tie into this live. And then I think it might just be a whole different one, how there's just a lot of like moral manipulation that healthcare workers tend to deal with. Like other jobs don't hold things over. I feel like it's education and healthcare. All right. What was the situation? And after we'll go in like little clumps. So we'll like learn about a thing and then we'll come back and I'll look at the chat and do all of that. So I'm not ignoring you if you just type something. I have found if I constantly look at the chat, we get nothing done. So we're going to try. We're going to try and we'll see. So the situation. My brain is all over, friends. I'm sorry. We're moving next week and I'm stressed because I had the plague. Okay. So the situation, because I think one of you did say that you were new to the situation. So here's the situation. So we have a hospital system in Wisconsin and they had 7 employees. And they're in a interventional radiology department. And an interventional radiology, I looked it up for you so that we could see it. So this is what an interventional radiology unit kind of looks like. They use like MRI, CT, ultrasound to take like in real time do procedures while you're able to look at the body using the imaging. So you're rather than in the OR where a lot of the times, you're kind of flying blind, you're opening people up and you're doing it that way, or you're using the Da Vinci and getting in there with like microscopes. This is using radiology. So imaging. And there were 7 people that worked in this department on this team that did stroke. Like they could go in and maybe like fix a clot, while being able to view the brain, or they would do cardiac procedures. If you had an occlusion, like a blockage in your heart, they could go in and they could help alleviate that. And in this team, on a radiology team, you usually have the interventional radiologist or who is practicing, or maybe they have like a nurse practitioner or a PA that is doing the procedure, depending on how high risk it is and what they're trained in. And then you would have nurses to help assist because you need to keep the patient asleep. You know what I mean? So this is like a tiny surgical unit, like a surgery center kind of almost. And so you would have nurses to help assist, like giving the medication, doing any like, handing things off, assisting with all of those things. I'm not an expert on interventional radiology, if you can't tell. I did interview an interventional radiology MP. If you want to watch that video, I'll link it below. She gave me more of an idea. And then you have the people that are running the actual like radiology thing. So those are the radiology techs. And in this, there were 5 radiology techs, I believe, and 2 nurses who essentially they had worked at this place, some of them for a really long time. And then there was another hospital that was close by, and they basically said, hey, we will pay. They had a job posting, and one of the radiology techs applied for it, found out that this other hospital, Ascension, was going to be paying a lot more money, and had better benefits in terms of like work-life balance, probably more days off, maybe a better insurance, all of that. And so that person understandably went back to their job and said, hey friends, across the street, they are paying a lot more money and they're giving you better work-life balance, yada, yada. There were also positions for nurses. So 5 of the techs went over. They were interviewing throughout November and December. And they essentially they interviewed for these positions and were offered positions. They went back. 2 of the nurses did the same thing. They went back to their current employer, which was ThedaCare, and they said, hey, just so you know, we're thinking of leaving, or we're going to leave. We have these other job offers, but we won't leave because we already work here. If you match our compensation or at least offer something somewhat comparable, which is super duper common. Okay. That like happens absolutely all the time when you're doing job negotiations. Is you go in and a lot of the times you're going to go and you're going to see, what this other employer is going to offer you. You come back to yours and you're like, hey, pay me more money, match this. And they either say yes or no. And as we will get to it, it says, yeah, just like Mama Nurse said, it's like very, very common. And so that's how you negotiate a job. And they said, actually, no, thank you. In a little while, I'll show you some of the quotes that they actually said. And it is like legitimately infuriating. So these employees, they said, okay, that's fine. We're going to go take this other job. They gave them a month. They said, okay, we're quitting in a month. And then 3 days, I think it was 3 days. I have notes. I should probably check. Before they were supposed to leave to go all start their job over at Ascension, the ThedaCare came out and said, you can't leave. We won't have anybody to staff this unit. So they basically sent out a lawsuit saying they couldn't start their job at Ascension for another 90 days or something like that. And then we got to an injunction, which we'll get to in a second, but that was basically they granted it and they said yes. So that is the basic situation initially. Let me see. I'm going to go catch up on comments for a moment, which is infuriating. So, and the most infuriating part, I know I said I was going to do comments and then I just started talking, is that so it's an at-will state. So if you know what at-will state, it is basically they can fire you at their will. They're like, hey, we're just going to fire you, like, and that you can't really fight it as long as they can kind of show you like, hey, this is why, and you can leave also as a person. But then they were saying like, hey, you can't just make us stay. This was at the state level. So a lot of like, I saw a lot of chatter of people being like, oh my gosh, this is going to be something that's like, nurses everywhere can get held hostage by yada, yada. You can get held hostage. It's called being mandated. We could talk about that if you would like. Where they just like make you stay. However, this was like a state thing. And obviously it got overturned where they were like, you can't just like tell people they can't leave because you are selfish. So we got that. Oh, let me see. Oh, Josh watched a birth today for the first time. That is always exciting and terrifying and just a lot. I hope you didn't faint. When I saw my first C-section, I almost fainted. I heard this story on lawyer Steve Leto on Leto's, is it Leto or Leto's Law? I love following law channels on YouTube. That is something that I enjoy. I might have to add this person because I enjoy following all the law tube people. I think there's a physician doing the procedure, and this was the supportive specialty team. Without the team, the doctor cannot do this procedure, and or the faculty facility cannot do these procedures. Exactly. So they're literally completely unable to do this if they don't have their team, essentially, because they wouldn't have anybody to help them with the medication and everything, like assisting, and they wouldn't have anybody to do the radiology part of interventional radiology, which is very important. So that's saying just about every job is at will. So that's ridiculous. Yes. I forget. I think there was one state, I want to say maybe it was Wyoming when I was researching, that said that they're not at will. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, you can't quit or you can't, weird. The Norway said, how often does mandating happen on average? It totally depends. So if you're not familiar, mandating is when you get to like the end of your shift and then you are getting ready to go home. And then they say, oh, you can't go home because we don't have enough nurses to come in and replace you. And since you are already there, it's considered patient abandonment if you leave, if they don't have someone to replace you. Totally depends on where you work, what the practices are. Do they have like, the hospital I worked at was unionized, so we could only get mandated, I think, for 8 hours in a month or a pay period. But either way, if you work at 12, so you go in at 7 p.m. and you get mandated anyway, even no matter when, if you get mandated at the end of a 12, you're stuck for 16 and a half hours at this place. You are not functioning. It's not safe. That is, I've always called that being held hostage. I cried every time it happened to me. It happened more frequently at my second job. The first job, they really went out of their way to like pull management in or pull other people in to cover you. But my second job, they just like mandated you all the time. So that's what it is. I always would ask in interviews, like, what is your mandating situation like? And ask the nurses. Don't ask the people you're interviewing because they'll be like, oh, it's like very rare and we really hate to do it. Ask the other people that work there how often it happens. Mama nurse says, I often go down to IR with my ICU patients, and she said it's like a team of 4 or 5 people. Okay, so if you have a team of 4 or 5 people, I think 11 people was how many worked there. So 7 left. So I mean, that's going to pretty much rock you're not going to be able to function. And it's going to be I'll show you in a second why they claimed that this whole thing was like, oh, you can't leave because then we won't be able to function. It's not going to serve the public. It had nothing to do with the public. It had everything to do with their pocket. I know I said I was going to go to comment. Never take Liz at her word until she said it multiple times. Exactly. It's kind of like how there's like the Midwest goodbye. I acquired that from living in Michigan where you like say bye and then you just keep talking. I very much adopted that, and I've transitioned it into transitions. So it's my ADHD brain. It just like keeps going. And I'm like, oh wait, no, we turned. Legal Eagle is fantastic. I love Legal Eagle. I love, oh my gosh, I can't think of her name. There's a lovely lady She covers like pop culture type of stuff. I'll think of her name in a minute. Legal Eagle is great. Nope, I didn't get so much as nauseated with COVID. Oh, I hope not. I hope you feel better. Montana. There you go. My sister. She's coming in to save me. Hi, Sophia. Hello in San Diego. You have a beautiful city. Never been mandated. They call in management. That's amazing. That's awesome. That's really cool. That's the type of job that you want, where they will just like step up. Yeah, at my old job, they wouldn't mandate us, but would often give the charge nurse patients. As a charge nurse, I always had patients. So I think it's magical land when people are like, "Oh, I was a charge and I had it was something to take patients," because when I was a charge nurse, I had like 4 or 5 patients and was in charge of all these other baby nurses. It was a hot mess. The unit I worked on first had such high turnover that I was a charge nurse when I had been a nurse for 3 months. Um, and everyone else was younger than me. And I was the most senior person, having worked there for 3 months. And it was such a hot mess. If somewhere has insanely high turnover, just run. Be like, never mind. Same, they gave us charge patients if it came to that. Yeah, see, that's what normally when you're a charge nurse, in case you aren't familiar, you're coordinating like the entire flow of things. Rachel's saying move on. All right, we're going to move on. Oh, Midwest nice. Yes. In Canada, the RPNs are not mandated to stay, but the RNs. That is interesting. What's the difference? I'm curious. Okay. Next topic. I'm told we should move on. Let me find my moving on. So who are the players in this game? So we have Ascension Health. We will just call them Ascension. They are the slightly less critical hospital. So they are a level 3 hospital. Levels go up. So if you are level 1, you can do everything. You have people around the clock. You can handle pretty much all of the emergencies that are going to come through. You cannot get higher than a level 1. They can take everything. Level 2, you can take most things. You still have to have people like staff and surgeons and doctors in the hospital all the time so that you can handle most of the crazy things, but they still can send some things. They can be like, oh, I'm going to turf that to a level 1. I want to say the closest level 1 in this case is in Green Bay, which was a little over an hour away. But again, my Wisconsinite can help me here because I'm like, my Wisconsin geography is like north, like Milwaukee, Madison, north. The other player, ThedaCare, is the one that's trying to retain the employees. They are a level 2. So a level 2, they're a little bit fancier. They can do slightly more critical patients. They can do more cardiac events. The level 3 Ascension, where the people were going, they can do strokes, which is important to remember. And ThedaCare can do strokes and hearts, essentially. They kind of bickered about who could do what. Those are our players. And then ThedaCare. So what was ThedaCare claiming? So let me find my notes so I can be exactly specific. So they went and ThedaCare attorneys wrote that, so they wrote that the organization, they found out December 21st that they were going to be leaving at the end of January. So I think January 21st, the people gave them 4 weeks of saying, hey, we'll hang out for 4 weeks, like a normal, technically you only need to give 2. 4 weeks is not enough time to hire new people and train them. However, that is not these people's fault. And that is what this is all going to kind of end up coming back to, is that it's not these people's fault that they decided. So ThedaCare, what do we have here? They learned that the nurses, the 5 techs and the 2 nurses plan to make the move out on, they were claiming that ThedaCare was poaching the recruited professionals purposefully, which they were not. If you post a job and people go to it and then they go and tell their friends and they are still offering better benefits, it's not poaching people. It's just offering a better job and better benefits. So they were saying that this was intentional, like as if Ascension went over and grabbed these people, when in reality, these people applied and then were like, oh, this is great. You want to treat me a little bit more humanely? This is wonderful. So they, in their initial lawsuit, where they filed, on Thursday, they said, hey, This is not fair. You are poaching our people. And we didn't have enough time. So they claimed that it was like because of the pandemic, it was super duper stressful. And this was something called like, they were trying to go essentially and steal their whole department. In a statement, Ascension said that they did not, in fact, poach the professionals, but they allied for like open job postings. The other people applied, not them. Ascension's legal representative, David Muth, said Ascension offered the employees a better benefits package than ThedaCare did not, and then ThedaCare didn't match. He also claims that ThedaCare had weeks to come up with a better offer to keep their staff and to replace them, but instead they chose to initiate court actions days before the workers were set to start at Ascension, because it was 3 or 4 days before they were supposed to start their new job that this original company, the hospital, said, actually, you can't leave. So the struggle here is that when the first person went over and they were interviewing in November and December, they came back and they told ThedaCare, they said, we have this job. Would you like to match it? Like we talked about. And they said, no. They then had time to like rethink that choice. You know what I mean? Because you have a whole month until your employees leave to be like, maybe we should rethink this decision. But no. So they decided that it would be cheaper it was going to be more expensive in the long run. Like they would rather just not pay these people more because that would be more expensive in the long run than to just let them leave and not have that, which is ridiculous because anyone in healthcare would know, especially in a management setting, that the most expensive thing you can possibly do is hire new people. I don't know about any of you, but whenever I got hired as a nurse, they were always like, really trying to retain you because the cost of training you, the cost of how slow you're going to be and how much you're going to slow down the process, the cost of your potential mistakes because you're new is going to be so much more expensive than if you just retained your people that you already had. Also, if you're so worried about money, why are you wasting so much money on a lawsuit? Because lawsuits are so expensive. So ThedaCare in this entire thing is going to start claiming that it was because they didn't have enough money to retain their employees, which I would love to know what like the CEOs, what the CEO of ThedaCare makes, because I'm willing to bet that they probably could still afford to, bump up these people's salary a little bit or give them a little bit of better benefits. So it's just very short-sighted that they were like, oh no, it's cheaper this way. It's not. I'm not even a business person. And I know that it's not cheaper to just hire new people. And they're also going to claim that this is unsafe for patients. And that is hang on, I need a drink of water. That's what they're going to lean on to get this initial thing where the court was like, oh no, that's scary. Like we will grant you this. They lean really, really heavily on the fact that it's not safe for patients. I'm really amazed I haven't had a coughing fit yet. This is the first time I've like spoken since having the plague. So we're doing good. Let me see. Do we need another? What is ThedaCare claiming? That they poached them and that this is not safe for patients. What is Ascension claiming? Ascension is claiming that no, we offered to pay them more and they said, that's wonderful. We would love to have more money and a better work-life balance. We didn't steal them. They applied for the job and then we're starting. So one of the people that was getting taken, I don't want to say taken, was taking this new job. His name is Timothy Brewster, a Wisconsin resident, and was one of the 7 people that was leaving, to go to Ascension, and he said in a statement that the offer that he was going to in Ascension was not just attractive in pay, but better work-life balance. He claimed that he approached ThedaCare with the saying like, here's my counteroffer, can you meet this? And they said the long-term expense to ThedaCare was not worth the short-term cost. So if anything makes you feel really, really valued by your employer, it would be that statement, and no counteroffers were made. So, like I said, they did the lawsuit, and the lawsuit that they, couldn't afford to pay people, but could afford to do the lawsuit was that they had their attorney, his name is Sean Bosak, argued that here's what they were arguing in terms of like legal stuff. Losing the majority of the employees in this unit poses a health threat to the region, as if they cared about the people in that region, because the Neenah, I hope it was that campus, where they were going away from, is the hub for high level stroke care and trauma patients. So, kind of like we talked about, they are level 2. And so they could take a lot more of the more complex patients that Ascension couldn't, but they didn't take any positive action to fix this, because they could have like kept the people. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're really worried about this, wouldn't you think that you would be like, I'm really worried about the people, patients, and we're going to maybe have to shut down our unit. So yes, we will pay you more, because that makes sense to me. Would be like, if you actually gave a crap about people, you would just pay the other people a little bit more. So they fired, they they didn't fire. Instead of offering competitive benefit package or attempting to fill the positions, they brought their case to the, oh dear, Outagamie, I hope that's that, County Circuit Court Judge Mark McGinnis. They sought to pause the recruitment of the employees. They wanted to stop it until they could fill the positions, despite having had weeks to do so already. So again, like just stalling, and then being like, probably getting there and being like, oh crap, like how things get put off. And then someone high up was probably, someone went to them and they were like, hey, John, I just wanted to let you know that I know we do a lot of interventional radiology type stuff, but we're going to actually have to close that department. And then John was like, what do you mean? Why are we closing that department? And be like, well, all of our employees left because Ascension's paying them more. So it's going to be fine. They're all gone. And he said, no, they can't fix it. And this is how they fixed it. They threw a temper tantrum. They filed a temporary injunction on Thursday, January 13th, that would halt the employees from just being able to go over to Ascension. So basically, you can't start your new job, while ThedaCare could look for staff, even though they hadn't been doing that and they already knew for a month. They tried to talk to Ascension and say, hey, please let us keep these people. But obviously, Ascension was like, that's your problem, not ours. They had many, many options of trying to fix it, but that was basically Ascension giving them the middle finger and being like, this is not our problem. A temporary injunction is basically just when you go in and you say stop. Like, there's a lawsuit happening. I've, sent out this lawsuit. I don't know how lawsuits happen. Do you just announce them? I don't know. But like, we're just going to pause everything. So that's basically what it was. They claimed that this action to seek to protect the community, keeping the status quo, letting ThedaCare people stay there. They also tried to like get people to like stay for only certain days of the week. It was just a complete and utter mess. It's interesting that ThedaCare seems to be claiming that they should be upheld because like they're the best, like they were going at it from a business practice. Also, interestingly, if they couldn't keep their staffing, they were no longer going to be level 2. So if they could not prove that they had in order to maintain your level 2 trauma status, the American College of Surgeons have this standard that you need to be able to do on-demand interventional radiology services. And if you can't meet those of like stroke units and cardiovascular units, then you lose that. And if you lose your level 2 trauma, like your level 2 status, you're going to lose a lot of money because people are not going to be diverting people your way. They're going to be sending them to the other hospitals, Ascension being one of them, even though they aren't like direct competitors, because Ascension has less capabilities. So let us take a moment and look at the chat. So that's kind of the playing situation. Let us scroll down. I think, okay, yes, we have a physician. I know I was going to comment. They call in management. Okay, we're talking about mandating. The money they spent on raises, they could have given offers. Exactly. They could have done anything with all of that. Midwest Nice. There was a lot of Midwest Nice, very different topic, but yes. My unit does more standby than mandating, but I work in maternity and we see a lot of discharges and admissions anyway. Yes. And standby is like when you're going to let someone go home or like you need them to come in and then they have like a few hours to decide, essentially. But yes. Hi, Brittany. It's like half an hour away, so very close. There we go. That does seem very close in Wisconsin terms and in Pennsylvania terms. Lawyers they hire to bring them to court are expensive. Yeah, we are going to spend all the money in legal fees anyway. So why are we even arguing about this? This happened to my mom's tech job and tech management job. They posted an equal job to hers, but hers was better pay and better benefits in a new location. When the office hired her, the new location was pissed. Yeah, well, I mean, just be better. It's not that hard. Had my first rage against the healthcare machine day on Wednesday. Rolling into the OR by 7:30 is more important to the higher ups than the patient. Could roll the patient in dead if it's by 7:30. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm not glad, but secretly I'm a little glad when other people get ragey against the healthcare machine because I feel so ragey against the healthcare machine. Said it's mom and her said it's so true. It costs so much more to hire new employees that they would have people sign contracts that they have to pay the back of the amount. So that's when you have like sign-on bonuses and you need to, give the money back if you take the sign-on bonus and then you decide to leave because the company is crappy. Average cost to hire a new grad ICU nurse is like $50,000, I bet, because they used to tell us we were like 20 to 30 grand when we were on med surge. So I bet because you're going to train for longer on an ICU and the stakes are a little bit, yikes. Wow. If I were employed by ThedaCare and I heard this, I would immediately look for another job as soon as possible. Exactly. Because you're going to be like, what? You don't have my back about like anything. Like absolutely anything. We have some encouragement. Best vibes and wishes to everyone. You got this. You do got this. You can do hard things. It's going to be great. ThedaCare reminds me of the junkie manager of the last holiday, which you left a retail job. Yeah, they're just, it doesn't give me good feelings. People leaving for other companies. Let's see, reenact. Thanks. I love profit is like our hospitals and healthcare systems are just purely profit driven. So yeah, somebody's head is going to roll for this. Whoever reports to John, maybe John was worried his head was going to roll. He was worried. I'm not brave. I'm just loud, but thank you. They really let me waste time on not hiring people when they decided to waste money for real. Healthcare Ragers Unite. Yes, that sounds like a band that we should probably start. And it would just be like all the screamo stuff that we used to listen to. We can revisit that in our youth. If you're my age, if you're younger, you probably didn't listen to that. So anyway, so let's see. What are we up to? I'm not even sure. I've kind of lost track of my type on here. I sound 90 is very small and I can't say it. The injunction said, hold tight. No one's doing it. Like you basically can't do anything. So they came out, they did approve the injunction. They approved it because the judge panicked. And since they were going from a public health perspective, he looked at it and was like, I'm supposed to protect the public. And this company is saying that the company is going to be at risk if the public is going to be at risk because people in this radius aren't going to be able to receive this life-saving thing that they need. Yeah, approve, which I totally understand. Originally, I was very salty with this person. I was like, what an idiot. Like who would possibly approve this to be like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like just don't start your new job. However, in retrospect, fair. I've realized he's not the villain. ThedaCare's the villain. He was just panicked because, if this big hospital comes to you and said, everyone's going to die of a stroke and a heart attack and it's going to be your fault unless you sign this right now. It's probably like 5:00 on a Thursday night. And he's like, oh my gosh, okay, whatever. So we signed it. It got overturned pretty much as soon as other people came in the morning with their coffee. They were very like, probably they had a lot more energy. They weren't quite tired at the end of the day. And they were like, no, friend, like your failure to prepare is not my emergency. That was like one of my favorite lines. I didn't say it quite like that to my patients, but when they would come in, they're like, I need this paper right now. And you need to sign it by yesterday. I'd be like, friend, your failure to get this to me on time does not mean that it's an emergency on my behalf. I said it a little bit nicer, but it's one of my favorite things to say to people. They really hate it when they're coming to you and they're like, really quick, can you do this? And you're like, hold right on. So that is our situation. Liz is now secretly on ThedaCare's blacklist for employment. I am. I know. I didn't put their logo in my thumbnail because I didn't want to deal with a cease and desist in case they were feeling snarky. I was just like, I don't really want to do that, but I put their name in the title. So, well, I guess that's out there. What is ThedaCare? So you'll probably have to go back to the beginning. and just watch this. You can just backwards in this live stream and start at the beginning, and I'll explain all of it there. Oh, thanks, Rachel. Hospitals love to blacklist people even though they need RNs and staff. I would probably be blacklisted from a lot of hospitals. I have not spoken highly of most of healthcare in general. Your failure to prepare is not my emergency. There you go. I need that on a shirt. Just feel like that's my life motto. Be like, whoa, friend. As a procrastinator myself, I feel the repercussions of this all the time, but it's a good boundary to put in place for other people. No, Sierra, I'm not like trying to attack you. It's totally fine to ask questions. I don't want to have to go back and explain it to all the people who have been here from the beginning. I'm glad you're learning. Hi, thanks for being here. So yes, so that is our current situation. They came in and they said, no, that is not fair. That's when, and then they came back and essentially ThedaCare came and said, oh, well, now everyone's going to die. And everybody finally kind of looked at them and said, well, that's, you probably should have prepared more. And the real issue here, my friend, is not, are people going to die? Because they're going to be rerouted. They're going to go to Green Bay. They're going to go to all these other places. The problem here, my friend, is that your department is going to shut down and you're going to lose a lot of money, which is what you're actually worried about, if we're being honest. ThedaCare kind of ducked around that and dodged it and said, you know what? We're actually just going to cross cover people. So we're just going to pull people in from other departments. We're going to go find Linda, who works in labor and delivery and does ultrasounds, on the pregnant people. I'm sure she can operate this machine. She's going to be totally fine. And we're going to go grab Dave. He works in pediatrics. I'm pretty sure that he will be just fine working with like sedating people and doing all the other nursey things that they have to do. So that's if you live in that area, your current interventional radiology, stroke, trauma, and cardiac unit is being run by people who are cross-covering into a department that they've never worked in that is highly specialized. So maybe consider going somewhere else. That was the outcome. The people got to go and they got to start their jobs. ThedaCare was also throwing a temper tantrum saying that it was rude. After this, they just started, in a typical way when you've like lost your argument. They said like, it's not fair. Ascension's trying to take everyone at the exact same time. And Ascension was like, no, friend, when you have 7 new employees, you hire them all, that are starting at the same job, you all get onboarded at the same time. At every single job that I have ever had, that is how it went. I got hired with a cluster of nurses and we all went through training together. So basically, the moral of this story is the hospital is going to try to say things to you to make you feel like you have to stay. Like they were going to these employees and saying like, people, they really laid heavily into the whole emotions of it, of like people are going to suffer, when in reality, it was their pocket, their money that was going to suffer. It wasn't people. As one total aside of, they have workarounds for this. And even if like it was going to be a situation where you were truly removing a resource from an area, it is not fair. And this is where like this is where I get really frustrated. It's not fair to use manipulative tactics like that to keep healthcare workers working on a unit. They're working on a unit wherever you are. I have seen that time and time again in manipulation to try to pick up more hours. Oh, we're super duper short staffed. It's not safe for the patients. What are they going to do? Oh, please don't quit this job. We're not going to have enough people. What are we going to do? You can pay them more money. That's what you can do. Rather than all these places putting like hiring bonuses, why don't we just pay retention bonuses and keep people? And if you treated people nicer and paid them, like maybe they would stay. But healthcare just has a horrible, I know I've experienced it. I'm sure most of you probably have, of manipulating you when you try to set a boundary and say no. They'll just keep asking and they will never stop asking, and they will make you feel like, oh, how could you not do this? We did this with COVID with healthcare workers, saying like, calling people healthcare heroes, and then we still had to go to work. You know what I mean? Like, and then acting aghast when people quit. A lot of people have in my like personal life have quit, and they were like, it's so ridiculous that like, like, oh, all these nurses are like abandoning all these patients and blah. And I was like, whoa, like we're going to put a hard stop there. Nurses aren't abandoning patients. Hospitals can abandon patients. Nurses leave jobs that they don't want anymore, don't feel valued in, or feel unsafe. So never, ever, ever let anyone make you feel like you have to stay in a position because it's going to harm them. Unless you own the hospital, it is not your problem. Okay. Which is like the harsh reality of the situation. And they were going to probably make you feel like you leaving is somehow going to make this entire place collapse. They will make it work because they want to keep making money. And they were basically calling your bluff. You know what I mean? They want to retain you so they can pay you less. Um, mm, and it's not good. Yeah, I think I first heard of the healthcare heroes from this channel, and it's super toxic. It's one of my least favorite things. So much. Like every time people say it, I'm like, oh, I'm not a hero. This is just my job. We're going to have a live stream or a video at some point very soon talking about how healthcare jobs seem to have like a moral attribute assigned to them when really like it's a job. I'm not like and then, I don't have to sacrifice for this. I don't have to go and like lay down and deal with all of this garbage and like risk my life for a job. Like it's been very eye opening seeing how now like working at Lecturio, like just more how respectful it is and like how you aren't manipulated emotionally. It's just been very eye-opening. You're like, oh wow. That was weird. That was a weird decade of my life where I let other people like emotionally manipulate how I function. Luke says, junior nursing student here. I love that term. Junior. Are you from England? Because I feel like over in the UK, they say junior doctor. And I'm like, oh, I love it. It's really inspiring to watch nurses and other healthcare workers fight for what they deserve, better pay ratios, better, more respect. Oh, thank you. Sierra says, I have been working as a COVID travel ICU nurse since February. Oh my gosh, stories for days. I bet you do, my friend. I hope you are making bank though. I hope you make bank and then you can make a fun I was going to say you could like make a fun podcast about your stories, but you really can't because you can't say anything because HIPAA. They can't do anything cease and desist wise for just saying facts. It would be purely a scare tactic. Oh, I know. I've gotten many a cease and desist in my day. Yeah, they used to terrify me. And now I'm like, how fun. Hospitals throwing a temperature tantrum. That's the best phrase I've ever heard for hospitals. Yes. Sometimes I think we forget it's not just itty bitties who have temper tantrums. I have found in my life adults far more, I would say that I have seen more temper tantrums from adults between the ages of 45 and 70 in my personal experience than I ever have from toddlers. And I've worked in peds and I've worked in adults. And the temper tantrums from our older friends are much more rude than the younger ones. But these new employees leaving for weeks ahead of time, they have money for a whole ass lawyer defense, but not for raises. Isn't that fascinating that they can pay their lawyer, but they can't play their people? I've been lied to in every interview. That sounds miserable. For your travel thing, what are they lying to you about? We were super short staffed. On the other hand, we made a huge profit margin this quarter. Exactly. Hospitals are making more money than ever because essentially people keep quitting and then they're like, well, I guess all the patients are still sort of surviving. But it's going to hit a point where, and that's where it gets like ethically hard. But again, it's not your fault. It's going to hit a point where like terrible things are going to start happening because ratios, like safe staffing ratios, are not being followed. You're going to have so many travelers on every unit that you don't have enough people that work there who know how things work to like keep it running smoothly. Because on most units, you have a core team of people who work there and they know the system, they know all the like the flows and everything. And then you have a few people who come in and travel and they like are incredibly helpful. But if you have a ton of travelers, it's going to be a really disjointed system and things are going to slip through the cracks. And it's just, And then they try to blame it on you. They're like, well, you left. How are you okay with blaming abandoning your patients? And it's like, I didn't abandon them. I prioritized myself, which for some reason this industry is making seem weird. It's unfair that higher ups in emotional jobs use that against staff, even working in medical daycare. It's done constantly. That stinks. It's my fault they can't figure stuff out. Exactly. And I used to think that all the time. Like when I felt bad for calling in, when I felt bad for like anything happening, and I was like, oh my gosh, like they're not going, I am letting down this entire hospital. Like I'm going to be the reason why this entire hospital goes into the ground. And it's not. Like that's just them putting that emotional baggage on you so that you'll take it and they can just keep all of their money. Yes, indeed, it's in their pockets that suffer, and it's a shame how manipulative they can be. That's why nurses are no longer loyal to healthcare systems. Exactly. Retention bonuses sound reasonable. And I will say, if you want loyalty in your nurses, so the hospital that I worked at actually had pretty good retention. They paid us well. We had excellent benefits. We had a great 401k matching plan. We had, if you used their own healthcare system, like for your health insurance, it was very affordable. We had periodic raises. We got bonuses, for if you worked off shift, you got bonuses. And people stayed. We got people all the time. And even through the pandemic, I've talked to people who still work there and they said like most people have stayed because they do not want to lose those things whereas everywhere else, everyone is just like fleeing. So it just makes no sense why hospitals won't just pay you more in a field where like you have to know your market. In other jobs, it doesn't matter as much. My husband works in computer like software engineering. It does not cost them a lot of money to plug and play their people. So yes, in that field, everyone's like jumping all over each other. You go and you hop jobs all the time. And it's like, yeah, whatever. But you would think that healthcare would want to like retain their people to make things safer. But no, they don't. No more martyrs. Yes, another shirt. I am not a martyr. Amanda says, yes. SR said, I just gave my notice. I hope that went okay for you. If they reacted poorly, that is on them. That is not on you, friend. Crutches and Spice on TikTok, but put it perfectly. The second someone calls you a hero or an inspiration, they're saying they're willing to let you die. Exactly. Oh, I like that. They're willing to let you die. So basically they're saying like, thanks for all you do. It's kind of like in the Princess Bride when he's up there, the king, and he's like, and that is some of you may die, and that is a sacrifice I am willing to make. That's how I feel. That's how all of this makes me feel on the inside. You are so right. Why, thank you. I like it. Keep telling me I am correct. They keep asking and asking until you give up. They know nurses' weakness is genuine care for patients. We love that when nurses are referred to as the most trusted profession. Also, I'm told it's from Shrek. It's not from The Princess Bride. Just kidding. Those two are very close in my mind. I feel like Shrek is kind of like, in my mind, Princess Bride. Lord Farquaad says it. So she says. I haven't watched anything except for Ogie Ogie and Doc McStuffins and Pinkalicious in a long time. So I think we can all forgive me. I'm trying to get them on. They are starting to watch Encanto. So I'm trying to really lean into that. I'm like, let's just watch more Encanto. Let's keep going. It's fine. Yeah. And they will. They'll just keep asking you and asking you and asking you, texting you and texting you. I feel like we used to get texts every day. Like, hey, can you come in? We're short staffed. Hey, can you come in? We're short staffed. And it's the people who become nurses a lot of the times who like people. I mean, you can become a nurse if you don't like people. I knew nurses that didn't like people, but most nurses are like, healthcare is interesting. I like people. Let's do this. So you are naturally a person who wants to people please more often. And so this can be our second moral takeaway. I think we've pretty much wrapped up all of our points. So now we're kind of talking about other random things in case you were really just here for the one main topic. We might be straying. Heads up. And where was I going? Oh, we're more setting boundaries is really, really important. And this is something I didn't learn until much later in my career, that like people are going to be disappointed with your boundary, but that says that's more to do with them and nothing to do with you. People are going to be frustrated that you're setting boundaries. We should have a whole live on setting boundaries. It's been a whole thing. I was doing a lot of therapy via podcasts because therapy's so expensive. And I learned a lot about boundary setting and how, when you get pushback, a lot of times it's just because people are frustrated that they didn't set that boundary themselves. So don't ever feel bad for setting boundaries and protecting your own happiness. If they react poorly, that's on them. That's their thing to deal with. You just worry about you. Hi, EB. I'm happy you're here too. Oh, thank you. I washed it last night after it was in a state yesterday where you could like put it on top of your head in a bun and it just like kind of stuck in this really interesting you could like sculpt it essentially because I had been so sick. I had been like in bed for 7 days and then couldn't function for 2 after that. So I had the sick hair. So I washed it for you. And I washed it for work because mostly for you and a little bit for work because I could kind of tell people were like what is happening here? There are Karens everywhere. I love the sarcasm so much. I wish this was live national TV. I would love to go on live national TV and react to all of the ridiculous things that people say about healthcare. Like I would never be allowed to because if they were like, "Oh, we have our healthcare correspondent, here's Liz," it wouldn't go well. I would be like, "Hey, people, I don't know what dummy told you this, but I'm going to tell it to you like it is." Like with the transplant thing going on right now, it's ridiculous. Oh, thanks for the super chat. Love you, Liz. You're the true MVP. Thanks. It takes guts to be this transparent. I appreciate you. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Both of those are pure gold. Lydia said, my hospital did offer the night staff a retention bonus, and they're staying. Exactly. If you just pay people, they're probably going to stay. Like, why are we so reliant on incentives for signing up, but not for staying? Let's not forget that healthcare should be a human right, not a for-profit business. Yes. Whole different tangent. If you guys haven't seen my entire series on healthcare deep dive is what I think it's called. I'm looking at the healthcare system and deciding, like trying to figure out along with you in real time how we got our healthcare system, how we are the only one kind of that doesn't have healthcare as somewhat of a right that is affordable. Like, how did we get to this situation? And looking into the history of it, and it's been fascinating because it is once again a money hungry pit from hell. And that's where we are. JB said, I'm learning so much. Yes, do a live on boundaries. We can do a live on setting boundaries. I've gotten very good at it. People hate it. Everyone in my life, they're like, I don't like that. I'm like, well, that seems like it's more of I'm going to go let you think about that while I go and enjoy my quiet moment of solitude. You go do that. Let me say I'm going to scroll back up because I lost myself. People, thank you for complimenting my hair. We can go back to that one. You can find all the comments where people are just being nice to me. Having kind of like it's a good day to have compliments. You know, those days where you're just not so sure about all of your skills in life. The situation across the nation is that, so Sierra is the one that she's traveled to a lot of different ICUs for COVID and gets lied to a lot in her interviews. The situation across the nation is that ICUs are filled with new grads and travelers. Dangerous combination, again, because you have people who are unfamiliar with the situation, who are usually the travelers are helped out by the people that work there all the time. Because you can just kind of be like, oh, hey, yeah, like, let me show you the ropes. Travelers are good, but unfamiliar with the inner workings of a unit. New grads are good, but they just don't know everything yet, which is because you are a new grad. And the way this was supposed to work, nursing does really well when you have a good, hierarchy of people who have been there for a long time. New people come in, they teach the people who have been there forever that like, hey, that's not what we do with NG tubes anymore. Like, please stop blowing air into them. And then you have but you're also learning from all the people who have been there and have years and years of knowledge. And that's not happening right now because everyone's leaving. And you can't blame anybody. And and the hospitals just don't care. They just don't care. Lydia, my hospital actually, offer people money and they will stay. Both of these are gold. Octonauts. Oh, Octonauts. We watch a lot of Octonauts. It's on Netflix. So much better than Blippi. Oh, I'm very glad that we're out of the Blippi phase. Octonauts, in case you have small children, is a lot like Star Trek, but under the sea, and it's animated. They go on missions, they save things, they interact with new species, they learn about them, then they help them, they set them free. Um, Let me see who thinks I need merch saying, where was I going with this again? Something like that. Boundary sessions. Okay, we can do a session on boundaries. We'll do a whole that'll be a fun one. That can be our next live. I'm trying to think of when. So next week we move into my sister's house. We're just migrating. We're leaving my parents. We're going to my sister's house for the week because we have to be in the area that the house is so we can go and do like the walkthrough, and then we sign on Friday, or we get the keys on Friday. Hopefully. Our neighbors, the only other ones who have actually moved into their house, showed up to their walkthrough, and the contractor said, "We're changing. You're not moving in 2 days like we told you. It's going to be in about a week." So we're just not even going to entertain that as a possibility at this point. We're not. We're going to proceed with optimism. So we're going to go live with her. We can't be there during the day, which is going to be interesting because she lives above a business. So you might see us wandering around the greater Philadelphia area, me looking very frazzled, toting around my 2 children. It's going to be fine. I'll also be on the phone because so I work at Lecturio, which is like an online nursing education company, and I'm in charge of their video. I put together these kind of like there's trailers. So these little like, they come up as ads on, I'm the person who's helping make their ads that you're probably getting hounded with if you follow nursing things on YouTube. And I'm the director of it essentially. So I'm going to be directing it remotely there in Oklahoma with my children in some random place by myself. So if I look incredibly grumpy, that's why. Someone sent me a message like 2 days ago, and they're like, "I saw you in public, but I didn't say anything because you looked really angry." It's just my face. I have RBF. I can't help it. Tanisha, it's so scary being a new grad in a pandemic. Any tips? Boundaries, friend. I cannot imagine being a new grad right now, and I give massive kudos to all of you who are. Know that this is not how it always has been, and I truly hope that we get out of this whole situation and things are better. Because I feel like right now is a terrible time just to be in nursing school or a new grad because everyone is so angry and it's all kind of coming to a head and there's so much frustration. And like it wasn't always like that. Like when I was a new nurse, yes, it was frustrating. There were problems on my unit, but like there were people who had been at that job for decades. You know what I mean? It wasn't this thing where pretty much everyone is saying like, oh, bedside nurses have like a 7-year shelf life or something like that. Like that just wasn't expected. And people still liked their jobs. You know what? I liked my nursing job. I did not like the weekends and holidays. So it was really just a schedule thing, but like I liked my nursing job. And I think we've lost a lot of that because of how frustrated people are. And just like all the limitations that like COVID's put on everything, and it comes down to nurses a lot of like patients being angry that they can't be with their family, like just everything. It's so much more work and hard on nurses. So I am just so sorry if you are a nursing student or a new nurse during this. Like it is such a hot mess. And my biggest thing would honestly probably be learn how to set really good boundaries and be comfortable letting other people be uncomfortable with your boundaries. Don't pick up overtime. Do not pick up any extra time on your days off. Really focus on what still brings you happiness and like makes you. You know what I mean? I feel like when I was a new nurse, I lost so much of who like I was as a human because my job stressed me out so much. Because I ruminated on it all the time. And I wish I had been able to just stop and kind of let it go and let it be, and then focus on my days off of like things that really made me happy. You know what I mean? I always would tell my preceptees this, that when you describe yourself, when I had like new nurses, I do not want the first thing, like I want you to have a robust enough out of work experience that when I ask you to describe yourself, the first thing out of your mind is not I'm a nurse. It's, oh, I am Tanisha. I am I love crocheting. I'm going to pretend like you crocheting. I love crocheting and gardening. I work as a nurse, letting it be your work and not your identity, and doing things to support that and setting boundaries and knowing you can do hard things. And this hard thing is not going to last forever. And if you don't like it, you can change your mind. You're not stuck. Do not let anyone convince you that you have to stay now that you've gotten to this point. Just do the next thing that feels right. Okay. Just keep following that. And it's fine where it ends up. Might not end up where you think it's going to. You might end up working for a random company in Germany doing online education and making video trailers for them. Like, you do not know where it's going to head up, but just take the next right step and you'll get there. I hear that my hair is terrible right now because I've been in bed for 3 days due to COVID, but I'm starting to feel better. Lydia, I hope you can feel good enough to take a shower soon. Be true to your role. Oh, this is excellent advice. Mama nurse, good job. But you be true to your role. Being a nurse is a truly awesome experience, and I wouldn't trade it for any other career. Just know your limits. Yep. Set boundaries and know, keep taking jobs and steps to do what you like within nursing, because there are so many different things too, which is huge. Just find what you like and be like, oh, I like education. I want to go into a role that has a lot of education. So we're going to maybe do more outpatient, or move to a unit where you have a ton of that type of thing. And it's all trial and error. You don't know about a lot of jobs in healthcare until you know the system. And you'll find your place, but don't ruminate on this being like how it always is. I knew I was American when I was in Africa and asked if I could afford to go to the hospital for a sprained ankle. Yes. Yes. Podcasts about boundaries and also nurses' rights. I feel like a lot of nurses don't know or think they have rights. I agree. I think a lot of nurses just don't realize that it doesn't have to be this way. You know what I mean? That you can set boundaries. Things can be good. You know what I mean? Because so many hospitals just treat people so sad. I'm dying laughing. Having you on national TV would be gold. But this is what we really actually need. I'm being serious. I feel like everybody they put on TV is so polished and so nice. You know what I mean? They just need to, I wish they would take some of these, there's so many great people on TikTok who, why aren't we educating the public with these people who are so good at communicating? Let's put Mama Dr. Jones on TV. I think she's been on Good Morning America, but she should be on more things. Let's put her on something to explain reproductive health. Let's put actual people rather than these, they bring on these doctors and these nurses who are so polished and so nice. And then are too nice to say anything, because sometimes you have to come out with a position. And I feel like everyone's afraid to have a position. We just have to come out and be like, hey, I know you don't like it, but you have to drink water a lot more than you're drinking. Otherwise, your kidneys are going to turn into shriveled prunes, and about much more serious things than that. But you have to have a position. It's going to make some people upset. We don't have that. I teach as an adjunct faculty, and in 2020, they did not have clinicals at the bedside. Yikes. Nursing is something that you need to learn at the bedside. I really think nursing education needs to go more to the bedside and almost make it more of an apprenticeship versus classroom, because classroom stuff really isn't that helpful. So this is not good. I have heard from a lot of nurse practitioners who have messaged me as well, who have let me know that they have graduated now, and all of their nurse practitioner clinicals were at flu clinics, which is also horrifying, or was online doing COVID calls. So that does make me nervous. Oh yeah, congrats. I haven't even watched your videos on the house. Oh yes, we are building a house. It was supposed to be done in December, but here we are. It's fine. There's been a lot of delays and we forgot that you need septic. Yeah, we do need plumbing in our home. Yes, that would be lovely. Oh, it's winter, so the ground is frozen. Wow, that's not something that you could have figured out that would happen in June when we bought the house. Okay, no, it's fine. It's they're shocked every time. They're like, oh my gosh, you need a septic system. Oh my gosh, the ground is frozen. Our neighbor's water test, this is going to go on a little tangent. Our neighbor's water test came back, and the company who we're building with, who's really reputable. No one else seems to have this problem, but our neighborhood is with a new superintendent contractor person, and it's not going well. It's his first like big neighborhood, and I wish he had a buddy. I wish he was not a new grad superintendent. He The water test came back and they were like, "Oh no, you don't need to get a water softener, you don't need to get filters. Like we will give you everything to get the water up to standard because we're getting a well, because we're kind of living in the middle of nowhere." So the town came back and they said, "We ran your water samples. They are technically not poisonous, but if you want to use them to consume or wash with, you are going to need to get X, Y, and Z things." And so the home builder was like, "Okay, so you don't need anything, you're good to go." And they were like, "But you said it's toxic." And they're like, "Only if you want to wash with it or drink it." Deep breaths. Deep breaths. They installed only half of the right stairs. So the two halves of our stairs did not match. One of them was like all encased and the other one was open tread because they were like, "Well, you only selected one of the buttons." We're like, "We selected both of the buttons, but the person in charge of selecting the buttons had only clicked one. So we had two, our left and right side of the stairs were not matching." It's fine. Everything's fine. Hi, Haley. Oh, thanks, friends. Thanks for all your encouragement. You're the best. I was at your Electrio seminar last week and it was excellent. It's wonderful to see you shining into that neural. Thank you. I had a 103-degree fever. They really didn't want me to do it, but I couldn't delay it because like I knew this week was going to be crazy and I didn't know how I would feel. And then we're moving. And so I was like, well, I can't cancel it. They were like, maybe someone else could do it. I'm like, you can't have an event called Live with Nurse Liz and then not have me be there. So I took Sudafed, ibuprofen. I chugged a thing of coffee. I had been in bed literally 30 minutes before, and I don't remember anything I said because I was pretty delusional. So thank you. My crowning achievement. The miracle of Sudafed. If you are in the Downingtown, Exton, Westchester area, that's where I am. We will be in that area-ish. I don't say where exactly we're moving, but we are moving to the greater Philadelphia area. So we will be in the same zone. We're not living in any of those areas though, because we couldn't afford it. So there's that. Or we would have had to have bought a much more modest house, as in like 3 bedrooms. And I was unwilling. 3 bedrooms and 1 toilet. And I was like, I can't go back to 1 toilet. I just can't. By the way, you declare lawsuits in the same way Michael Scott declares bankruptcy. Yes, if you guys don't know from The Office, Michael Scott, he thought you declared bankruptcy by just saying, "I declare bankruptcy." And that is an excellent way that I will always talk about lawsuits being declared. It's how I declare everything in our house. It's like we run around and we're like, "I declare this." Michaela said, "At my last nurses meeting, we literally got nothing because we spent the entire time bitching about the things my bosses control." Isn't that every nurse's meeting? It's like every nurse's meeting I've ever been to. I'm not totally sure though, because I sleep through most of them. They would tack on meetings after your morning shift and then someone would nudge me. My friend would nudge me. She's like, "We have to leave now." I'm like, "No, it's okay." They loved me. I'm definitely blacklisted from that hospital. If you work those 312s, are they still asking for overtime? Yes. Yes, they are. And don't do it because it might seem like the money's worth it, but it's not. It's not worth your sanity. Speaking on behalf of my classmates who are second-year nursing students who are the first group experiencing brand new program, we are surviving. We are certainly not thriving though. I'm sorry. That's all I can say is I'm sorry. And they have to adapt to it. Hospitals are going to have to adapt to it because this is how programs are. And you're doing a great job. I hope you know that. Sometimes all you can do is survive, not thrive. My January has been survive, not thrive. My accelerated nursing program was survive, not thrive. There was no thriving happening there. Yes, they are. We're taking people off orientation so they can work the floor and pick up overtime. It was insane. Oh, that's not good. We don't want that. I have plenty of classmates who have dropped out because online schooling and the high stress of this style of education. I don't blame you. Nervous this will happen to me. My school runs through their nursing program online now. How do you do online clinical? I don't understand. Nurse Liz should be the get a Dr. Oz type show. That would certainly be interesting. We would not cover. I feel like I could go right after the Dr. Oz show and be like, everything this man has said is a lie. Don't do anything. Everything you just heard, let's talk about how we can debunk it. I'm scared I don't know anything. I had clinical experiences, just virtual sims. Story about being charged at 3 months. Nightmare. It was a nightmare. During my first code, I quite literally cried. Like the code button went off. It wasn't my patient, but I was in charge of all these people who were younger than me. Not younger, but like newer. The code button went off. I cried, ran to the unit next door and just grabbed the first person I could see. And I was like, you have to come with me and help me. And she did. And it was fine. But that was surviving and not thriving. That is what it was. And so don't ever feel like you have to know what you're doing, because your job will train you, or you will rely on other people who you might need to go to a different unit and grab. You have no expectation of showing up and being able to do everything. You know what I mean? You have absolutely no expectation of that. I feel like nursing schools make you feel like you're going to graduate and be prepared, and you're not. You're not going to graduate and feel prepared. You're going to graduate and be like, I know nothing, because our education is so focused on the classroom when it should be so focused on the bedside and learning skills. It makes no sense. We started our first year off with a whole program, so we are the guinea pigs. How fun. How fun. A lot of shitty parts, but we'll survive it. I hope you do. Please do. I hate being the guinea pig. That stinks. I always say if people don't like me, that's not my problem. I am the way I am. There's nothing wrong with the way I am. Michaela, I like you. Exactly. I'm embracing that much more. It's taken me a very, very long time. I don't know how old I am, but probably about 33 years. I think I'm 33. I might be 32. I don't really know. I always say if people, oh yes. Josh, yep, same. It's a new model for my school. I'll be in the 3rd class. I guess it'll be an adventure. Yay. Are you doing the like content-based curriculum? I've heard horror things. I saw your story about the water. Yes. I attempted a TikTok. They are very expensive in that area. The houses. Yes. Westchester is my dream they have these beautiful back roads on these levels. I'm 32 and I'll be 33 next year. Love that area. But I really like where we ended up. It's a little bit more rural, but you can get to there's a little town that's like 7 minutes away that has like the essentials. And then within like 20 minutes, there's like 20 to 25 minutes, there's like a Target and Aldi and like all the things, like everything you could possibly need. And we're in the middle of nowhere. We have a mountain. There's going to be 30 houses, I think, in our development, but we're all like kind of on our own little acre. So we can like see our neighbor, which is what I wanted. I didn't want to live I wanted to live in a neighborhood where we would still be able to like go on walks and like have other neighborhood children. So it's going to be good. One toilet is a no-no. I refuse. As do I. That is that is gambling with things I don't want to gamble with. Olivia said, I found your channel back in 2015. It's been a long journey, but I'm graduating my BSN in 99 days. Yay! Congratulations. That is so exciting. I hope you can, oh dear. I just zoomed in somehow. Take a break and just like relax before you do all your NCLEX craziness. Can you and Alyssa and Mama Dr. Jones have a YouTube live together? I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm living for it. Alyssa and I can. Mama Dr. Jones would have no idea who I am. She'd be like, why? No, I'm not talking with them. But Alyssa and I should do a live. Let's be transparent about pay too, like the old, yes, like the old AIM where you said, so in case, let's have a history lesson. So AIM or AIM, depending on how you wanted to pronounce it. It was a messaging thing that you could log in. It's kind of, like texting is now, but it was on your computer. You used the internet and you had to dial up with a type of like situation. And you would go into these chat rooms and it gave you, people would say like ASL and it was age, sex, location. I would love to do that about pay. How much do you make? Let's go. Pay, location, and time at the position. Perfect. Oh, I would love to normalize that. I want one toilet. I live with 3 boys and a husband, and I'm sick of cleaning toilets. But what if you all need the toilet at the same time? That is my fear. That is my deepest fear. The dial-up sound effects. Thank you. Thank you. A lot of people here probably don't even know what those are. All right, friends. I think unless you have any other questions, we can wrap things up. We will do our next live. We can plan on it being a boundaries setting class. It's going to be very interesting about how therapy that I gained on a podcast because I can't afford real therapy, but desperately probably need it. So, therapy that I've learned via a podcast that I will then give to you. Rachel, we will definitely need a medical disclaimer on that podcast. Oh, how to make everyone in your life angry, but you will give yourself more inner peace. We'll have to come up with a good name for that one. Thoughts on vaccine mandate without religious exemption. So I don't like, I don't think in general that I made a whole video about this. I think like I'm very for the vaccine. I am all about whatever. I don't know of I mean, I don't know about everyone's religion, but to my understanding, there's not like I haven't heard a lot of like true like religious exemptions, except for if you wanted to use since we have the mRNA ones and those ones don't have anything to do with any, like they were not grown in fetal tissue. They have nothing to do with that. But across the board in general, I am not huge into mandating things. I think if we do a really good job educating, there can be less mandating. In general, I am not for you forcing. I feel like when you force people into things, it makes it charged, it makes it political, it makes it a situation that goes from, hey, let's talk about this and like, let me see if I can educate you, to you're being forced to do it. And that never, like, whenever someone is telling you have to do something, maybe it's just me, but like I get very defensive and I'm like, even if I would have considered it before, I'm sure as heck not considering it now because you told me I have to do it. I wish we would have approached this with more of, like I said, like there was no good education out there on it. Like, why are we learning about all of this on TikTok? Why didn't we have a more structured approach to educating the public about all of this? Like, it should never have to come down. You should not ever be forced to have like anything done with your body. I mean, yeah, like, and that's kind of where I came down on it. Like, I get why hospitals like we're doing it because, and hospitals were mandating the vaccine because the people who pay them, like, I think it was OSHA, was fining hospitals. So if a patient came down with COVID and they were in the hospital was going to get fined insane amounts of money. And all sorts of, so it was, I mean, it all comes down to money again, but like the reason hospitals were mandating it was because they were going to lose money if COVID were not. So like it just got so, and then there was like I said, since it was mandated, it was just so charged. And since it was so politically charged in the beginning, like it just became a mess. So I don't, across the board, I don't like vaccine mandates. I think we would need a lot less of them, or there would be less of them if we just focused on educating in a very simple and straightforward way. Because so much of the reasons, like when I had conversations with my patients and they were willing to have them with me, so much of the stuff I was able to so simply explain. And like, of course, how are they supposed to know? They don't work in healthcare. Like, they are getting their news also from either the media who's like in sensationalizing it or TikTok. And depending on what side of TikTok you're in, they're echo chambers. So like my TikTok, I'm like, how would no one understand this? Because all the TikToks I see are people being like, oh, like here's the science behind this, here's this. But I know if you're not like on that side of TikTok and you're more back like hesitant about a topic, or like your TikTok is going to echo chamber you. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's such a mess. Why are we educating on TikTok? And that's what I think about that. So that was my very long-winded answer on that. I do have a whole video about it. But overall, I thought that was a bad move. Just never a great thing. Dogs. Because I feel like with dogs, you have They just love you no matter what. And with cats, there's a chance they won't. Although cats have the benefit. No, just dogs. Dogs. Thank you. Have a great rest of your night as well. I hope everything ends up okay. It's going to be fine. You can do hard things. Oh, good. She had a whole video on it. Boundaries, best practices, and new nurse tips. That's good. That's very wholesome. It's an excellent name for the live where we're going to talk about boundaries. If I end up landing on a wholesome topic, we can use that one. If anyone has any more sassy, how to like make people angry topics, that would be great. I lived in a house with 7 people and 1 toilet. You definitely want one more toilet. I have family that had 1 toilet and 5 people, and things that were not toilets were used as toilets. And I have since that moment of witnessing said actions, I was like, we need more than 1 toilet. I really want you to do either a podcast or write a book. I've thought about doing a podcast, but unsure. One of those things where I have a lot of ideas and then I don't do anything, but thank you. I appreciate you. Michaela, we have 8 people in our house and 3 toilets, and sometimes that's not enough. I understand. We are going to have a 4-person to 3 toilet ratio. So, I feel like that will probably be okay. You can always use a shower in the case of emergency. Good. Rachel's telling the story. We were both apparently scarred by the same situation. 2 toilets, and these little boys are going to learn to clean up better. Have them sit down. Gotta sit. Second, the podcast or book idea. Oh, thanks, friends. Third, thanks. You're my favorite. Second, I'm so excited for the next live on boundaries. One of my current courses on policy. I'm hoping I can find the time to be involved with healthcare policy advocacy one day. Would inspire me. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Yeah, maybe I can get your help on someone with an actual psych background to help me on my boundaries. But that's very exciting. I remember feeling super motivated when I took my policy class. I was really surprised because I thought I would hate that class in NP school, and I ended up loving it. And then I was like super like passionate about it. I was like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to change the world. And I hope that one day I would like to do that. I would like to get someone involved in policy when life is a little bit less crazy and my children are older. Like, watch out, world. But no one will like me because I'm just going to say it like it is. And then they're all going to be like, you can't talk like that. Like, you have to sugarcoat it. And I'm going to be like, no. And then we're not going to get anywhere. So Taylor, I hope you were a little bit more approachable. Perhaps go change the world for us. It's crazy. I'm in California. The nurses fight to not be out of ratio. I've seen charge nurses help nurses out of that ratio, and there's usually a resource night to help them for it. Working in California, I've been told it's not like perfect, but working in California as a nurse sounds like a dream. Apparently you get breaks. I've never gotten a break. You get like multiple breaks. There's like mandated ratios. We need to implement this into healthcare. So JG, I need you to go talk to Taylor, and you guys can team up and start implementing these changes in our healthcare system. Okay, perfect. Great. That's your group project. Go forth. Nor it's never too late to teach people responsibility. Norway, it's never too early to teach people responsibility. I could call the live that. Thank you. I appreciate it. And agree. Oh, thank you. Good. I'm glad. Good night. Bye, Sophia. Thanks for that, guys. See you next time. Thanks, Mama Nurse, for showing up and for all your insights. I feel like you're very wise. I appreciate you being here. You definitely need to come to the boundaries one. I know I'm late, but how was the judge legally allowed to prevent the nurses from working there? ThedaCare had enough time to find replacements. So it's Glory. It came down to a panic situation. So it was basically like an end of the day type situation where ThedaCare came out and said, oh my gosh, like all these people are going to die if we have to close down this unit, and they're going to have strokes and they're going to have heart attacks. Yeah, like if you don't sign this, like people are going to die. So he panicked because part of his job is to uphold laws and like that protect humans and keep them safe. So he did not know a lot about the situation. I think it was later in the day. And so he passed it, and it was very quickly overturned when people came in and said, no, your failure to prepare is not, this is not going to hold any water. But I also thought they were the villain, but turns out that they were just scared. They probably didn't want to come into work the next day and have their boss be like, why are all these people dying? What is happening? When in reality, none of that was happening. ThedaCare was able to come in and say, like, here's our backup plan. So it was okay. And that's kind of that. She was a charge nurse giving her, she was a charge nurse giving her audience homework. Oh, I was the world's worst charge nurse because I felt so bad doing anything. So, like, when we would have admissions, I would be that person. So, before I learned, I'm not good at, I was going to say boundaries. I'm not good at delegating at all. And I hated being in charge because when you're in charge, you are giving people assignments, you're telling people what to do. When admissions come up, I would always, like, if I was the charge nurse, I had my own patients. I was trying to run this unit, and if I had an admission, I would do everything in my power to, like, get the room set up, get all of the equipment they might need set up, review the orders, make sure like that this was going to be totally fine, kind of get them up to date, make sure the pharmacy had the meds that we needed, like, so that I could be like, you have an admit coming into room 24. This is the patient. I'm going to help you get them settled. I've set the room up. If you need my help doing any of the admission paperwork, I've got you. Like, granted, my life could have just been like burning and falling to the ground with my own assignment, but I felt so bad. So maybe I'm learning things, just telling people what they can do. I'll be the next AOC. That would be a delight. I would love that. I'm new to your channel. I'm so glad I found you. Oh, thank you and welcome. And you're welcome for explaining. All right, friends. I told you I was going to be an hour on here. It's an hour and a half. It's fine. All right, friends. Thank you so much for hanging out. I look forward to talking about boundaries with you in our next live, whenever that will be, probably in like 2 or 3 weeks. I'll figure it out. I hope you set lots of boundaries. You don't feel manipulated by your employer. Remember that you can do hard things because you've already done so many and you are wonderful. All right. Have a lovely evening, day, whenever you're watching this. I'll see you later. Bye.